Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Gonna do a quick little ride to the grocery store. But yeah, in this video I wanted to talk about my experience at Electrify Expo. We finally came to San Francisco again. I got the chance to go. It's in Alameda. And they had a whole bunch of electric cars to see from a whole bunch of car companies like Toyota, Ford. I got to check out the new e-moto. Porsche was there, and I got to sit in the Taycan. That was pretty cool. And then they also had a whole bunch of e-bikes, e-motos to try out, which I thought were pretty sick. So for the e-bikes, I tried out the P51, which is a pretty well-known bike at this point, I would say. Super lightweight, amazing suspension. That's the one thing that stood out to me the most. It's actually only a 48-volt battery. It's 48 volts stock, which is interesting, but the power actually wasn't too bad. I didn't get to fully open it on the track since it was pretty tight. But yeah, I was very impressed with it. Suspension is definitely the highlight of that bike. I will say the only downside to that bike is, you know, the price, especially when it came out. Yeah, I was pretty surprised to see that it was a 48 volt bike being sold for, I think it's like more than $3,000. Yeah, it's a little steep for most casual e-bike enthusiasts. I believe it's like $3,500 after tax and everything. I'll just post that in the video so you guys can see. But yeah, the suspension was absolutely amazing. It's got a D&M shock similar to what I have on the X-Class now. However, the frame design is just much better suited for a clunky and cushy suspension compared to this bike. This bike, the frame actually is not made for a super plush ride, I would say, at least in my experience. Yeah, I would say this bike is not super well suited for cushy suspension. I could have gone with a lighter shock, but I don't think it would have improved my experience that much. And then yeah, before I left, I actually got to try out the Rawrr Mantis X. This is a bike that's been out for I think a couple months. And this is the main reason why I wanted to go to Electrify Expo, is to test out an e-moto. I've never ridden one before. I had my eyes on the Telaria XXX. But there were some things about the XXX that I wasn't like a huge fan of, I would say. One of them being that to remove the battery, you have to remove a link on the suspension and then pull the battery out. And this is a bike that I definitely will not be carrying up 2 flights of steps in my apartment. I don't have an elevator, so that's pretty much the only way to get the bike up and charged, unless I want to remove the linkage every single time that I want to charge the bike, which is not realistic. So this Mantis X seemed like a really good option on paper. I'll post the specs in the video as well, but it's a 72 volt 30 amp hour battery with a 6,500 watt motor, 6.5 kilowatt motor, which is on par with the Telaria minus the battery. The Telaria is a 60 volt 40 amp hour battery, I believe, and has a little bit more total capacity compared to the Mantis X. But yeah, this is first bike in like the $3,000 range that is being commercially released as a 72 volt. And I'm pretty damn hype about it. I've done so much research on this bike. There's not a whole lot of reviews out. A lot of them are sponsored, but people seem to be absolutely loving the bike. I know I immediately fell in love with this bike. Yeah, I know like immediately fell in love with the bike as soon as I rode it. I only did 2 quick laps on it, one in eco and then one in sport. I actually almost fell off the bike in sport mode. I just was not prepared for the power. Like I said, it's my first time riding an e-moto, so that was very interesting. Um, but yeah, I'm seriously considering getting this bike. The only downside that I've seen online are that the range is not so great, and then also the brakes are not so good stock on this bike. I've heard really good things about the suspension compared to the surrounds. Um, and also, of course, the power compared to the surrounds. It's much quicker, has a higher top speed than a stock Surround X. This bike has a top speed of 58 miles per hour, which is more than enough that I'll need. And then Rawrr is also coming out with a 72 volt, 35 amp hour battery that should fit this bike's specs. Um, so I'm kind of waiting to see if they're going to release that new battery with the Mantis X, maybe like an upgraded version with a slightly larger battery. I'd probably go with that as opposed to a 30 amp hour. Um, for me, I'm definitely going to be riding this thing off-road. I want to get some off-road experience. There's a few trails in San Francisco, but the problem is they're like 6 miles out, and I would have to conserve my battery for when I get there, and also ensure that I have enough battery to get back. I've looked at like options of taking it on public transit and then riding to off-roading spots, but realistically, it's just not going to happen. The bike's pretty large, probably a large chance of me getting robbed of it as well, so that's not going to happen. Um, so yeah, that's been the latest. I originally was going to wait for the Triple X, but yeah, it just didn't suit my needs, so I decided against it.